Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we have an interesting update to a story I did a few weeks ago, brought to you by my second very large travel mug of Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee Company is a family-owned roaster based in sunny Florida that supports your rights, the Second Amendment, and channels like mine so you can feel good about your morning caffeine injection, and maybe also your afternoon one too. And your evening, if you're that kind of person. Their Memorial Day sale is now live, where you can save 24% off of your order with code HONOR24. This applies to their coffee, tea, hot chocolate, and even their special partner roast that raise money for your favorite gun rights groups. So check them out today at blackoutcoffee.com/LibertyDoll. So you might remember the video I did recently about the American tourists that are being detained in Turks and Caicos, or TCI for short. First off, thank you to the folks that corrected me about it being a British territory. One of the articles that I read falsely said that they were part of the Bahamas. It turns out that they're in the same chain of islands, but the Bahamas are their own country and are a separate entity. So again, thank you. Learn something new every day. If you want to know the full story, I will link that video up here. The short version is that as part of a crackdown on arms trafficking, a judge in TCI decided that instead of being subject to a fine and being allowed to go home after, American tourists who entered the country with a couple of loose rounds in their luggage are now subject to a 12-year mandatory sentence, and as a result are being held in jails where they don't even have access to clean water. Fabulous vacation destination. So far, the US government's approach has mostly been to issue a travel advisory saying that they have no jurisdiction over foreign laws, which is valid. But I wonder how many people even knew about these advisories prior to traveling. I think that's a fair question, as 5 tourists were arrested in just the last couple of months, with the latest just being a few days ago. Between the 5 tourists, they had less than 20 rounds between them. And all of them were only detained when trying to leave the island. In many of the cases, the travelers went through TSA security and no one found anything. Tyler Wenrick, an EMT from Virginia, was arrested after cruise security on the islands found 2 stray 9mm rounds in his bag. In his case, he had gone through TSA and 2 rounds of port security. All 3 of these entities missed these stray rounds at the bottom of the bag, a bag that he said he had previously used as a range bag, which shows us the importance, unfortunately, of having separate luggage. But still, 3 opportunities to find this and stop it along the way, all missed. The most recent tourist is 45-year-old Sharita Greer of Florida, whose daughters surprised her with a trip to the island for Mother's Day. She said on the way home, airport security in TCI found 2 stray rounds under the bottom flap of her carry-on bag, a flap that they had to physically remove and dump out her luggage to find. She said that she herself had searched the bag after the news reports, and because it was under a flap you had to physically remove, she hadn't seen anything. But as with Tyler's case, she said the bag is normally one that she uses to transport her gun. That really makes me wonder, are these security people just like standing there and like dumping out everyone's bags and tearing them apart to find that? And if it was on an X-ray, then why did none of the other checkpoints find it? In response to this, TSA is doing some investigations where, they're going to investigate themselves and find that they did nothing wrong, yada, yada, yada. We all know the TSA sucks. But also, an oddly bipartisan delegation of congressmen from Virginia, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and Texas traveled to the islands this week to ask for leniency and try to secure the tourist release. This even included John Fetterman, which is surprising, but one of the jailed men is from his state, so I guess it makes sense. Of course, no one from the State Department or Biden administration at large was a part of this delegation, and we'll probably never see them do anything about it. They've issued the travel advisory and washed their hands of it. They can negotiate with terrorists and get hostages released from other countries, but say, oopsie daisy, sorry, our people made a mistake in your country with their 2 rounds of ammo. Can we work something out? No, that is apparently not in their job description. And spoiler alert, in the end, nothing seems to have come of this delegation. John Fetterman was optimistic but also pretty much has a brain injury. The other lawmakers in charge basically said it was just people representing both sides and saying their pieces and going home without any path forward. So nothing happened and everything is still moving ahead. Though, for what it's worth, Rep. Burkeen of Oklahoma says that he pointed out to TCI officials that 65% of the island's economy is tourism, and 80% of that tourism is from the United States. And boy, would it be a shame if Americans just stopped visiting over this, as many of them have already pledged to do. I mean, I don't know if that constitutes a quid pro quo, but Joe Biden has no problem doing it. The governor's office of Turks and Caicos said in a news release that, per the constitutional separation of the executive and judicial branches, the governor and the honorable premier cannot intervene or comment on pending legal cases. The court can find so-called exceptional circumstances where the judge could issue a shorter sentence instead of the mandatory minimum. So far, that has only been extended to a delayed sentencing for a 72-year-old man who was arrested previously and was allowed to return to the U.S. because of medical issues. His formal sentence is still coming up next month. As for everyone else, they are all being fast-tracked through that pipeline and all have hearings in June and July. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, this probably goes without saying, but please have separate luggage for your range activities and travel activities. Make sure that you are checking your bags, and maybe don't go to these islands. All right, that is it for this video. Like I have said before, and say with any kind of story like this, I'm going to keep watching it. I will let you guys know of any new details as they come up. If there is anything that is of particular interest, I'll shoot out a video for you guys. In the meantime, please do all of the algorithm things. Drop a comment down below. And as always, folks, thanks for tuning in and happy shooting.